Brian Wang is so excited today because everything went his way today. We're talking about everything on Robotaxi, everything on data centers, everything on the stock price. We've got so much to talk about, Brian. I think I'm going to just, for now, I think I'm just going to turn over to you because I know you've got a very fun slideshow to show.
Okay, so we'll do my little slideshow here. Let me view slideshow. Okay, go to, oops. So first we'll start with Robotaxi. The news that we had, I guess like yesterday, was that we have rolled out the Robotaxi app to all Apple iPhones, Apple iOS things, even your laptop and stuff can access the Robotaxi app. And people are applying it and pretty much immediately getting access to Robotaxi. So they've opened the usage gates on that. There were reports that the initial wait times dropped from like 10 to 20 minutes for a ride down to 3 or 4 minutes. Although there were later reports that things had gotten unavailable again because of increased demand. So if the opening up of the Robotaxi app had increased demand and we still dropped the time to get a ride, that would suggest we went from 50 vehicles to 200.
Oh, okay.
Right? So and then looking at 200 vehicles, that would be twice as many vehicles as Waymo started off their service with back a few months ago. And that would be about 25,000, 250,000 miles per week. So this could be up to 2 million miles per month then with 200 vehicles. So good news. And then go ahead.
So now if they have 200 vehicles, though, that means they got 200 safety riders?
Right. That they have
Wow.
200 safety riders. Right. But safety riders are trivial. They have like 150,000 employees, right? So
yeah, okay.
It's trivial for them to have that number of safety drivers. It was never any reason that they wouldn't roll out 2,000 vehicles just because they had to hire some people to do it, right?
Now, it would seem like this issue would be a multiple in San Francisco because you've got so much more territory to cover. People are more used to Waymo and stuff up in the San Francisco area. So what do you think's happening up there?
So we're going to go over that.
Okay.
So I'm going to go over each of the states. So
okay.
We have an updated Robotaxi progress report from Jonathan Stokes. So he's saying that they're going towards final regulatory approval, no safety monitor in California and in Texas, pushing forward to that. Although some of the information I saw might not be that. So we got the approvals for Arizona. Looks like we're close on Nevada, and also I think Florida could also be close. Waymo made the move of saying they're opening up 5 cities: Miami, Houston, Dallas, and they started immediately with Miami. So they're pushing hard to try and expand in some kind of pace with Tesla. So he talked about the driver tester permit in the fine print and removing the safety drivers, and received one final Texas DMV authorization per bill Senate 2807. So Texas is pretty much approved. That DMV approval should not be any major factor. So it's mainly does Tesla want to move the safety monitor or not, right? So I think that's the situation there, that they have the statewide approvals, that final DMV approval, it should not be a major factor to slow down.
I'm reading, it says Tesla is running unsupervised Robotaxi rides today.
Because there's no driver.
So those are unsupervised because it's a rider, not a driver. Okay, I'm sorry.
A driver, yeah. So it's already kind of already there because that's why the difference between the safety driver in California versus safety monitor, right?
Right.
In terms of the regulatory things, they just say, hey, the guy's not driving.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, he's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there. Yeah. So he doesn't do anything. And sometimes we hear they're asleep. So
Yeah, right.
we when the report they had.
I thought that was actually a planned stunt by
Yeah.
Tesla to
Yeah.
prove that they could do that.
Right. So California, there's a DMV approval permit and then a California Public Utility Commission approval step. So you have to do the driverless deployment permit for a commercial driverless for the DMV. And then you get your CPUC drivered AV pilot or driverless AV deployment. So you need to have the driverless AV deployment, right? To say, okay, I get rid of it because right now they're riding around with the safety driver, but technically it's kind of a chauffeured service.
Mhm.
Anyway, so they need to get enough detailed safety information. They have that detailed safety information. Disengagement report, I'm sure they have that, and then proof of robustness. So they can give all this information. Just a question of how fast does DMV and CPUC then choose to approve it. It's taken longer for other people to approve, but Tesla's going to come at them with a lot more data.
Right.
So we don't know how long it's going to be to approve that.
Okay.
And again, not a factor to scale to 1,000 if you don't have that. Arizona and Florida.
But again, you still didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
If they just put it out to everybody, if they put the app out to everybody, you've got this large territory up in Northern California. Wouldn't they need a lot of cars and a lot of safety drivers in this particular case?
Yeah, you probably need 5-10,000 to do a reasonable service based on whatever demand that they have. So they could hire them. It's like Uber hires drivers.
Yeah.
You can hire the drivers. So hiring that number of drivers for that number of vehicles is not a showstopper if you want to roll it out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So Arizona and Florida, no state level permit. It's basically self-certify. It's like go to town.
Okay.
And so they did have some like tick box of some formality of like I'm going to do it. Not just like Wild Wild West kind of thing. But there's no like real formal.
Mhm.
You have to do blah in order to get this thing. It's kind of like tell us you're going to do it, and then you go ahead and do it. And Florida is very similar to that. Nevada is also very robotaxi friendly. So no distinction between testing and deployment. Again, you apply, process take like a few weeks. So those are the areas that we're looking to go to, and expanding much more in Texas, like to Dallas and Houston, all those other cities, like a lot of places they can go to in Texas they want to. Arizona, Florida, also very easy. If you're ready to go, then go ahead, and then Nevada is also not that bad.
I suppose when they hire these safety riders and safety drivers, they could say, "Are you interested in travel?"
Right.
And then send them off to Nevada and Arizona and Dallas and all these other places.
Well, the other thing is that if you wanted them to earn their keep, you could have them do stuff for package delivery or food delivery, right? So even though they're kind of a passenger and just kind of monitoring it, you could say, okay, I'm not picking up a person right now. I'm going to do some packages and do some food deliveries, right? So then that person's doing something while being there and earning extra money to make it work.
Sure.
Right. Again, it's just a question of how aggressively Tesla wants to push it out.
Sure.
So that was my slides on Robotaxi.
Okay.
Do you want? Oh, one thing was, so I think there are 200 cars in Austin.
But you're not making it. You're not making a guess for San Francisco.
Right. I'm not making a guess for San Francisco, other than I think they probably have gone up to a few hundred there too. I'm thinking they're going in kind of lockstep. San Francisco had 1 million. They had 4 times as many miles in San Francisco versus Austin at the Q3 call, right? So that is a data point suggesting that they actually are scaling faster in California to the larger area that they're serving.
Sure.
And also the fact that the Bay Area, being Silicon Valley, has people more willing to do a robotaxi or ride sharing type service.
So you've been keeping very close watch on the accident statistics from Austin. We were looking at maybe three or four accidents. NISTA uh, uh, provided some information the other day that showed seven, all
Right.
in July and August. I believe no, July and August. No,
And I think they
August.
had some September. Yeah.
They had some in September, but
Yeah.
nothing in October. Zero. At least if they've reported October, there was nothing in October.
Right.
So we had a total of seven. Do you know why there might be a difference between NISTA's numbers and Austin's numbers?
Yeah, they have some kind of different reporting requirement. So I'm not sure about the details, but there's
Okay.
simply some difference in reporting requirements.
Okay.
Um, I would then go with the higher number,
Yeah.
assuming that the higher number is correct, right? And the number of miles on that, I think that they've gone to at least double the size. So if you had 250,000 mostly in 3 months and mostly in the last month,
Hmm.
then I would say that we're at 300 to 400,000 miles per month. And now with the recent increase, I think towards 500, 600,000
Okay.
is my guess. So the number of miles is, I'm inferring to
Hmm.
be going up pretty well. And so then only having 7 incidents is still in the range of Waymo
Hmm.
in terms of the number of accidents. And Waymo has 4 to 5 times as many nuisance incidents, like blocking traffic,
Yeah.
causing other problems because of indecisions in intersections and those kind of things. So the actual problems is similar on raw safety, and then the type of accidents seem to be fender benderish,
Yeah.
that they don't really have serious
Right.
accidents in either case, which is a positive sign, because there's accidents and then there's just
Yeah.
really minor accidents, um, which are it's the nature of what kind of problems are you having. They both are now on highway, Waymo and I both been on highway. Waymo started later, only just recently
Mhm.
with that. Yeah, and then the Tesla has airports in their area of service, so those are major destinations and starting points for a ride-sharing service.
Yeah, and also over the last couple of days, we've seen some stats. I think it might have been an Uber exec that was talking about how many more miles the Waymo is getting compared to what we've all been putting in our spreadsheets.
Mhm. Right, right. So I think a lot of indications that the numbers will, when it's fully working, will turn out better than the conservative assumptions. Like everyone kept going conservative. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, I want to go down to it. So that means it's easier for us to exceed that. And I think some people, you made the case, I made the case that more people would want to ride in a driverless vehicle, right?
Mhm.
That
Right,
there's
right.
less, all those occasional
Yeah,
incidences that happen with people, and sometimes to the driver,
yeah.
is a bad problem that is not there if you have no one driving.
Sure, sure, sure. So put a day on it. Which day are we going to go? Which day are we going to take the rider out?
We'll start taking the right. I think it'll happen over a monthish, and I'm definitely thinking that it's December. If
Okay.
I'm gonna say a date, I'm going to go with December 10th.
Okay, December 10th. All right,
December 10th, yeah.
we'll bookmark that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So then you and I have did you start it or did I start it? I don't know. We both started about the same time. And nobody else was talking about it. Was data storage in space. Well, you started talking about the moon and the Mars. You were
Yeah.
certainly years ahead of me. Well, okay, at least months ahead of me on that one. And that's in the book for people that want to read it. And then just a
Before we go
couple,
there,
yeah, and then
yeah,
a
before we go
couple.
there, I had eight slides about AI. So I'm gonna talk about AI and then we're gonna talk AI in space. Is that okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good. Do
So
it.
let me quickly do that. Okay. So huge news. So we had the XAI the Grok 4.1 release and hit the top of the leaderboards for a couple of days. And then Google released Gemini 3, and that's hit the top of leaderboards. It's at 1503 versus 1484, 1490. So they're really, really close in terms of the top of the text language leaderboards. And then actually Grok 4.1 is ahead on search, or Grok 4 fast on search. And then there's some, I think on the coding side, Google Gemini's ahead. So anyway, point being, those two top models are at the top. And then NVIDIA just had earnings, and they beat on everything, and we'll go over that as well. In terms of like what these all mean is that AI scaling, pre-training scaling laws still hold. That is a huge point, that the scaling laws still hold. That means buy more chips, run more chips, train bigger models, you will get better AI, right? And keep going to whatever that point is, we're still going upwards. We have not stopped going upwards.
Right.
So that means you'll sell more NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA growth has reaccelerated. So, and then there's indications of more returns revenue-wise from AI. So all the AI negative things, scenarios, stories, all those negative things about AI are not coming up. The AI bull case is still in play across the board for NVIDIA, across the board for scaling and compute, across the board for getting the value and the returns out of it.
So
I have like 8 slides going over that.
Was it Oracle that said that they were projecting like 80 billion in revenue or something in 2027? Yeah.
So they're all projecting more revenue. So okay, so AI scaling laws are intact. So this was definitely observed by Gavin Baker, who runs a multi-billion-dollar fund. He's sometimes on the All In podcast. He invested in XAI, invested in a lot of these other companies in a big way, and he has insight that we do not have. So he's also seen or heard about the unreleased models that they all have, and I can see that those are better too. So again, someone on the inside who's seen more than we have is saying not only is what we're seeing great, and what does it mean, but that there's stuff behind the curtain about to come out that is even better. Okay. So he says the 4 AI leaders: Google, XAI, OpenAI, and Anthropic. Right. Which you see on the leaderboard as well.
He doesn't have Microsoft in there. Wow.
Right. He doesn't have Microsoft in there. I think he's kind of lumping in Microsoft in with OpenAI because they're kind of together. Right.
OpenAI.
Right. Yeah. So it's Microsoft has its own development group now that they're doing stuff with, and they still get the OpenAI information, like the code and all their information on that. So Microsoft has been running their super intelligence group for a year, and so they're working toward that. And of course, they're using it. Actually, I think they're using more than just the OpenAI. I think they're also using XAI and other models to work with their enterprise tools, because so long as they use it the best, Microsoft can win. So the fact that you have, in terms of like model leaders, frontier model leaders, here's what we're talking about. Right. In terms of using it, all the big tech companies are using it. Apple's using it, Microsoft's using it, and they're making money. Oracle, all that stuff. So there's other guys that are also leveraging it. They're just not making a top model, which is what we're talking about.
Gotcha.
For this. Yeah. But Google and XAI can and seem to be pulling away from the other two, OpenAI and Anthropic, right? It's not like a clear, blowing away into the dust, but because OpenAI and Anthropic have better models that they haven't released, that he said is happening, and so they'll release them soon. But that with scaling law still holding, Google can scale their TPUs, and they've announced a TPU 7, which is their version, a tensor flow thing that's their version of a GPU that has substantially more performance and is really good on the performance per watt of energy, right? And then they can scale them up and make them coherent, which is make them all work together for training, which is easier to do for TPUs than it is for GPUs. XAI cracked the code for GPUs and it's installed quicker. Google's TPUs didn't have as much problems on that. Another point is NVIDIA is still dominant, as we saw from the earnings beat. And the best models are still coming in mid-2026 because the B200 actually had a bunch of problems when they first released. It was late.
Yeah.
There was difficulties using it. B300 is smoother. So getting new models trained with B300s will see better results. So that he's already seen some things where he knows that this is happening, that we're going to see better models for 2026. Okay. So Gemini 3 is the strongest one, and it shows the scaling law still holds. So that's a really important point, that it shows that.
Yes.
And then he expects a large jump from the new model mid 2026. And then the OpenAI GPT-5, which people felt disappointing, it was intentionally a smaller, cheaper model. They wanted to sell the tokens, the actual use of it cheaper. So it was a value product versus a performance product.
Interestingly, I've been using, Grok 4.1, and I found that while it's faster and it's still smart, it has more difficulties following my instructions. So
I think it may be that we need to still do more of the tricks on prompting to get the best results. We have to say, hey, you're a top 0.1% expert in blah, and then do it that way. Another way to do that is to have a first draft of your prompt and say, hey, don't run this yet. Tell me how to improve this prompt to get the best results.
Yeah, I've done all of that, and it kept making me promises of how great it was going to do, and then it wouldn't do it. Anyway, we'll find out. We'll see, maybe 4.2 will solve some. I mean, like with everything, it could have some setbacks. While it makes leaps ahead, it might also be seeing some negative stuff. But
some tweaks may need to happen. It's definitely possible. Google's pulling ahead, lowest cost per high quality token, right? So that is a key factor, because the tokens, that they're using to give you the results is, the cost of that and the value you get from that is what you're actually using. So that cost benefit is that. And then they have that TPU, I can get a lot of them working together thing, which is good for the training and the model performance. XAI has a close second in the cost and quality. 4.1. And then you have 5 coming up in like 2 months in January.
Right.
So Grok 5 will be the step up 6 trillion parameter model, more intelligence density, which should be giving some kind of like 1.4 step up in performance, about half of the move between GPT-3 and GPT-4, where it was like that OpenAI jump was a substantial, wow, that's a lot better kind of thing.
Yeah.
We should get a fair bit of that from the Grok 5, and then point releases, and then later in the year, Grok 6, that should be really quite good.
Okay.
OpenAI and Anthropic both have strong unreleased checkpoints, and OpenAI is in 3rd place right now, behind Google and XAI, and now OpenAI is in 3rd place, which is a first. Meta has been completely dropped out practically, even though they're hiring, spending huge money on hiring. They're working to be an open source model, but they have to prove they can get ahead of the Chinese models. And the Chinese models will fall behind because they don't have access to B300. Like they're talking about giving them a B30 chip, but China has not approved it on their end. So we've approved to sell them. They haven't approved to get them. Right. And they had almost no of the H20 sales, which is a China-approved version of an H200.
And if they decided tomorrow that they wanted them, they might be looking at 9 months to a year before they could get any.
Yeah, unclear how long it would take to get them. But I think the capacity is there. Again, not that much delay. Yeah. Okay. So NVIDIA overwhelmingly dominant with the Blackwell and all through next year. No risks of anyone taken ahead. There was a problem with B200. B200 is going smooth. They should middle of next year and in next year release their next chip, the Rubin, and then after that the Rubin Ultra. So expecting substantial performance improvement, efficiency improvement, cost value improvement. So Blackwell delivers the best coherent compute which is, working together for a big training model, and the best tokens per watt. So those things of like overall raw intelligence as well as cost for value are the two most important metrics we have going forward. The power shortages, he thinks, is a positive thing. It forces more discipline upon all the players, because if I don't know, I have to be very cautious about, I really need to have this power because I can build it. It's going to be a serious spend. If I can't justify it, then I got problems. He also thinks that the GPUs are pulling ahead of the alternative chip, which are ASICs, the programmable type chips, which are Broadcom and some of the startups are doing. He's saying most non-Google ASIC programs are dead, is his observation, which is a big statement that certain other chip, putting the raw AI compute stuff right onto the chip itself, which is what they're talking about there, is putting the compute onto the chip, where you, in theory, could get these multiples of efficiency. NVIDIA being so competitive has made that seemingly non-viable. So the reasoning flywheel and rising barriers. So he says that the reasoning that you do after you've trained it, where he's like, I'm going to learn this particular data and situation after, like, I've gone to school and I'm kind of like studying the problem after I've gone to school, kind of thing. That's the reasoning part. So you have pre-training, post-training reasoning, which was supposedly the difference between Grok 4 and Grok 4.1. They didn't retrain the base system. They just did more reasoning training, like practicing your kung fu after you got your black belt or whatever, right? So he says that this is the classic flywheel of the reasoning. Have users, you get high quality interaction data that you do the reasoning upon, makes better models and give you more users. So that is the classic internet thing of like social media. I have users, I use the data, I make a better social media thing, I get more users, right? So is what's happening there. So the business economics is the classic thing that's been working in the Bay Area for the last 20 years.
Right.
Pre-reasoning era only had the pre-training scaling. Now you have post-training, and the reasoning is an additional moat. So again, the winners keep winning. The top 4 are there, and the top 2 start pulling away. It's a kind of the strongest, the weak get weaker kind of thing. I think he said the power shortage thing is bullish, and we're also going to optical interconnects. That is critical for multi-building, multi-regional areas. That is important. The optics actually helps China offset some of the advantages, because they have certain advantages in optical connections. Return on invested capital is still higher than pre-AI CapEx ramps. So the whole AI bubble thing is not happening. The productivity money is happening. The return on what they're spending is happening. So if I'm making money off what I'm spending, I don't have a bubble, right? I'm getting profit. Overall token demand driven by our customer ROI from matters for the sector. And then the individual leaders share battles. So OpenAI losing ground. So anyway, so it's all positive in terms of AI itself. The AI story is good. In the NVIDIA earnings, a little grainy here. So we have each quarter kind of moving along. This last quarter they popped up nearly 20%. Right. So it was like a 5% growth in revenue. And then they have a nearly 20% growth in revenue from 47 billion to 57 billion. So more revenue than Meta. And then they're projecting 65 plus or minus 2%. So then another possible 20% move, and it'd be nearly a 50% move over 2 quarters. Going from 47 billion up to 65 is almost a 50% move. And it could be, if they hit the high end, which they usually are under promising, that they could hit the 50% promise over 2 quarters. So it's just everything's good for AI. Profits are coming, the growth is there. It's all working.
All right. Yeah. So, and then for those of you who want more of that, Jeff Lutz and I we'll even talk about some of the use cases that maybe people aren't even paying attention to in the show coming up later tonight. Brian, so NVIDIA popped. And I had actually asked Grok the other day, and Grok says, well, 6 of the last 7 times that NVIDIA beat, it went down.
Mhm.
And then Nick Gibbs last night says, well, yeah, that may be true, but they didn't always go in and on a negative print with regard to the stock. So this time the stock was down. It's been down, what, about 15%, I think, from its all-time high. And so last time I checked, it was up about 4% after hours. What do you think happens next with NVIDIA? Is this going to be the beginning of a run? Is NVIDIA going to have to wait for the market to start heading towards 7,100 if Tom Lee is right? Or some of both?
Well, they raised guidance, right? That whole like we're going to do another 15, 20% move
Right.
is what they're saying for next quarter. And then based on the Gavin Baker analysis, is that they're going to keep winning, and 2026 looks like a great year for them, where they'll just be making more of these B300s. I guess they're definitely, I think, positive for the next 2 quarters. Then the question is, do they hit Rubin on time,
Ah,
right?
okay.
So if they hit Rubin on time or early or something, and the ramp goes smooth, right? Then that would continue the run. If there's some kind of like um, problem, like shifting over to Rubin, then that would be bad. Like it's the same thing that they had with the B200. If it was bumpy or late on B200, I'm expecting it in beginning of Q3, and then it's okay, it's going to be Q4, going to be Q1. Then that would mean there'll be that pause mode where things didn't happen.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So, NVIDIA, I follow it. I look at it every single day, sometimes twice a day, 3 times a day. I don't own any of it, have no plans to own any of it. But if I were going to guess, I would say that um, it's going to go up.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
I think it's pretty sure.
Well, the main point is that the scaling laws still hold. If
Yes.
scaling laws still hold, that means you need more of those NVIDIA chips.
Right. Yes. So, yeah. All right, let's talk about what happened today in trading.
Mhm.
Tesla followed the market around like a little puppy dog, and then as soon as Nvidia popped, it popped. Not nearly as much, not as a high percentage, but it popped in the after hours. What do you think? What do you think? Is this going to be enough to get the market back in gear? Yeah, again, Tom Lee and Kathy Wood both think we're going to, all-time highs on the S&P before the end of the year. Of course, both of them also think we're going to 5 million on Bitcoin or something like that. I don't know. No, I think
Mhm.
Kathy lowered her number on Bitcoin. And I'm not sure if Tom Lee, I don't know, he was on a show that I didn't watch it because it was only on Bitcoin.
Mhm.
I think he still thinks Bitcoin is going to have a really big pop before the end of the year, but we'll see. What do you think?
Um, One problem for the market, I guess, is that the odds of the rate cut are dropping,
Right,
continue to drop.
right.
Not impossible, but I think down to 35, 40%, which is not great for Christmas rally. Um, I think that the chance of a rally are good. I think that the Nvidia results being good. If Tesla does deliver in Robotaxi, that would help that side of the market kind of thing. Google's doing great. So I think there's, because Google is kind of, underperforming, under delivering for a while. So now they can do some catch up. So, they're a major part of the S&P 500. Um, I think that the overall AI story being attacked, and all the other major AI stocks were up like 2% on the move. So if now we're positive again, it doesn't seem like any kind of crash is going to happen. This was a 5% pullback, so it was a correction.
Yeah.
So now we can go back up again. I think going back up is likely.
GDP Now increased their number again. They went up from 3.9 about 4 weeks ago. Now they're at 4.2 for the third quarter. I mean, 4.2. And I also had asked Rock last week to give me an analysis of GDP Now and how accurate it has been in the past. And basically, plus or minus 5, a 0.5, I'm sorry, not 5, 0.5. So if let's say the third quarter is 3.7, that'd be enough. Oh, my goodness, I don't know what's going on with my phones here. But so 3.7 would be great. 4.7 would be really great. But we've got that. We've had the New York Manufacturers Index, the Empire Index, that was up strongly. Construction was up. Housing construction was up. That was a big surprise. Private real estate construction up. We know the pricing of housing is down in most regions of the country, which should be good for the CPI and the PPI and all, well, at least the CPI and the PCE. I don't know what the Fed is looking for. The only thing I see up is healthcare. Oh, there's some of the tariff-related items, but outside of the tariff-related items, it's healthcare and utilities. And the one I'm most worried about is utilities because it looks like the president is all over the healthcare deal. And I think, you tell me what you think. I think if the president shows that he's actually coming forward with ideas about healthcare and putting ideas on the table and actively engaged in healthcare, I think that will settle the market a lot and even settle the consumer a lot. But he's got to also look like he's concerned about the price of natural gas. What do you think?
Um, One other factor is that the October job numbers came out with increased AI-related job losses.
Okay.
So it was at 4 to 6%, I think, was AI-related job losses earlier in the year,
Yeah.
but it increased to like 20%.
Mhm.
So it's more than I think economic, companies having economic or some kind of performance problems,
Right.
but then they have where they do cost cutting. So those are two different buckets.
Mhm.
So it's bigger than that other one. The
Right.
cost cutting one is still bigger than the AI one, but they could be kind of related. That hey, I can
Sure.
cut because I'm cost cutting a performance at AI thing. So it's not to the point where it's the AI job loss apocalypse,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's showing that companies are getting more profitable, more lean because of AI letting them do that.
Sure.
So that seems to be a story that in terms of like the GDP growth, in terms of uh, company efficiency, that it seems like AI is translating to actual results there. Then we have to work on the other side of like how do we policy-wise handle that this change is happening. Um, but on the business corporate side, having those improved results from AI that enable you to um, change how your company works to get more efficient.
Sure, sure, sure. No, that's of course, yeah, this is the big conundrum as we go into 2026 is the people who are saying, oh, AI is going to result in all these lost jobs. Well, if it actually results in all those lost jobs, to your point, it also it increases earnings, it increases wealth, because if the earnings go up to a certain point, then you've got to start giving price cuts. So, and in fact, there was Target announced today 3,000 price cuts in their stores. So, and on Friday, of course, the president announced a bunch of tariff cuts on grocery items in particular. So, it seems to me that most of the noise, maybe a signal, I'm not sure which, but there's an awful lot of either signal or noise suggesting that inflation is not an issue. When you've got the housing market basically down in most sectors of the country, it would seem like that. I'm trying to figure out why the hawks think there's an inflation problem. I can't get my arms around it.
They were saying that if all of the investments into the US economy plus stimulus in other markets happen,
Mhm.
that would be inflationary,
Mhm.
that you would have all this new activity and stuff like that. But it's also that if you have some job losses and then you have new projects related to the stimulus, then it can offset. So I don't know in terms of like, I don't have enough data to tell how that's going to play out. It seems to be offsetting, and I don't think inflation will be as much of a problem as people think.
I think the biggest problem for inflation, I've said it many, many times on this show, but I'm going to say it again. I think the biggest problem we have for inflation is going to be if we keep sending this many people home from our recent immigrant arrivals. There is a point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it's 500,000 more or a million more, but there is a point at which you're going to create a job shortage situation. You just don't have enough Americans to do the work. It's not even a matter of whether they want to go out and pick strawberries. There just won't be enough folks to do the jobs. So I think there's a point at which the I'm 100% for getting rid of folks that came in the country illegally, but I think there's a point at which it's going to be counterproductive, and I think the president could address that. His base is kind of be mad, but maybe the centrists will like it if he says, "Okay, that's enough."
I don't think the negative stuff is happening fast enough um,
2.2
to
million?
offset what?
2.2 million?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what the number is that the government's giving us. Either they've gone home or they've been sent home. 2.2 million people already in 10 months.
right. Yes, I understand that. Yeah, but I think that the continuing AI boom, which we talked about at the beginning of
Right.
this thing,
Right.
that we're going to have all this benefit from robotaxi happening, followed by robotrucking. With AI, like we could have, Grok 5 with some AGI level AI, that the AI is improving fast enough that, and the use case of like physical AI happening fast enough that we're going to transition where we're going to have this massive economic boom.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing that the concern stuff about um, job loss and other things, that if we're going to be making so much money on the other side, that it'd be easy to stimulate to cushion whatever the negative effects are.
Right.
So I I'm encouraged by the fact that the negative issues of job loss, displacement, something like that are more muted. You know, when I can see within 3 to 5 years this really sharp takeoff on productivity, like, getting to in 2 years to millions of robotaxi
Mhm.
and to hundreds of thousands of robo trucks, and then to various forms of AGI, quasi AGI level stuff, and then rolling into the space AI boom, right? Then I see the timeline on that going to that really helps the world. Because if we start adding, Elon talked about at the Saudi meeting
Mhm.
that he's gonna have this 100 gigawatts per year of compute, which is 100 times bigger than the data center he has now. So
Right.
instead of a million chips, 100 million chips,
Right.
right, per year,
Yeah.
right? I think that will be um, you're basically adding 25% more power to the United States availability. So if I go from 460 gigawatts of constant power to 560 to 660, there's a correlation between GDP and energy, right? So that means that like 10 years we double energy, by 2035, right? So then that would be a massive, massive thing. So
Come back to this decade with me for a minute. So you and I have been talking about this business of taking the data centers to space. You and I talked last week about the one chip that has been sent into space, one little testing, I guess you would call it a test case.
mhm.
Elon said today 5 years before, and I just assume the way he said it, the way he's been talking, he's going to make all the things we said. He's going to make a gigafactory to make solar panels. He's going to make a terafab to make chips, and he's going to make the satellites over at SpaceX, and he's going to put those things in space. So he's thinking 5 years, he says, or no more than, he said, less than 5 years. But wouldn't it be likely that you could put some in way before 5 years. So in other words, you can buy the NVIDIA chips. You're going to have AI5 chips being made by TSMC and Samsung. You could make a small line. I mean, they're already making what do you call it, solar arrays to go into space. You could maybe increase that production or make another new small line.
So when I hear him say 5 years to AI in space, he said 5 years to AI in space when it is cheaper to put AI data centers in space than on the ground.
Okay.
Right. So for me, I think he's talking about getting near his 100 gigawatts by 2030. It's not like he's not going like next year we'll toss up 10 chips, 100 chips. You know, he may even toss up like 10 satellites with 100 chips each. He can go like a small test thing of 100 satellites, just like he dumped out 20 version 3 dummy satellites as a test, right? That he can make these big satellites, dump in a bunch of chips into them, and it's like nothing to him, right? He's like, oh yeah, $10 million.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right. So that will be happening next year. So he's talking about his big, just like he said, 100 gigawatts. He previously said 100 gigawatts by 2030, or 2029. So he's saying that's what he's talking about. He's talking about like big numbers, not small numbers, right? Not like I'm not going to do nothing and then in 5 years I'll start launching. No, he's talking about relaunching. The reason that I say that is that I track the Starlink system. And so we have 9,000, mostly version 2 minis up there now, 200 megawatts of power, 28 kilowatts per satellite that you launch on Falcon 9s, right? That they'll have the fully reusable Starship working end of Q1 next year, and then they will start launching satellites. And they can launch even if they don't land the upper stage. They've landed the booster like 3-4 times. If you just land the booster, I lose the upper stage after I launch my payload. That was like the first year or two of Falcon 9, right? And Starship just going up, launching stuff like they've done twice. I've released 2 dummy V3 payloads, right? So I've done that twice. I'm just going to full orbit. People say, oh, they never got to full orbit. They've chosen not to go to full orbit because they need to relight the engine and deorbit. So they're just being safe and not doing it. They're getting like 99% of the way there, and then they're just not doing the last little bit. They can do the last little bit. They just don't, safety-wise, don't want to do it, right? So let's say they're going to get both pieces. They're going to land the booster and they're going to land the Starship. They had the ocean simulation landing of that. They've done it twice. They will be able to do it. Okay. So fully being able to do those things. They'll drop cost by 10 times that they'll have, and then they will do 30 to 60 launches next year with the Starship. And that will let them put up like 1,000, 2,000 of the V3 satellites. The V3 satellites are about 2.5 times the weight of a V2. They have more area, several times more area. So at least 68 kilowatts of power versus 28. So like almost triple the power of that. And I expect with the new AI demand, they'll make them have even more power standard to it. And those ones will be about the weight of a car, right? So V3 will be the weight of a car. They've already got FCC approval for about 30,000, and they put in another request for 15,000. So that would be roughly about 3 gigawatts of power over the next 2 to 3 years. 2026, second half, 2027, maybe complete 2028, 50,000 satellites go up, each about the size of a car versus a really super tiny car, like they think that the Wulan Mini is what they've been launching before, right? So, and then they will load in more chips. They already have some chips in there that are like AMD Versal chips that have been radiation hardened. Now it's been shown that they can do non-radiation hardened chips. So then they can just mass produce those lines and say, I'm going to go up 10 times again. I go from 9,000 to 50,000, and then another go to 250,000 or 500,000 chips. No, sorry, satellites. So then they'll have to put in request to FCC, say, I'm going to launch at this other altitude, where it's sun synchronous all the time, and then I'm just going to run my lines with a modified version 3 that I've already made 50,000 of, and now I'm gonna make 500,000 of the new ones, and then that could be 500,000 would be about 50 gigawatts. So that I think I can do by 2030, and if they push hard, double that to that, and then that would involve like 5,000 launches. So they go from 500 launches to launch all the 50,000 satellites, and then they go to 50,000 launches or something like that to do the next batch.
So it was a revelation to me that Jensen said today that 90% of the mass of the chips is cooling, and therefore this would reduce the mass of the chip stacks to 10% of what they currently are. Was that in your calculations?
I hadn't not made assumptions around that. I know the cooling was not a problem because we already have 9,000 satellites with 200 megawatts, like 28 kilowatts each.
Mhm.
So if I'm tripling the power, I'm taking that power in and I'm running equipment with it, whether I'm running a chip or
Mhm.
whether I'm running,
Sure.
some kind of like emitter for communication frequency. I'm doing work with electricity.
Yeah.
So I have to manage that power. So the power management issues are solved for things of that size.
But my question is, in terms of the amount of chips or
Yeah,
the total amount of, I guess they're doing that in power now too, but the
right,
total amount of kilowatts that you can get on that car-sized satellite
right,
be 10 times as much as we thought it was.
right. Potentially, yeah, in terms of the mass and something like that. Yeah. So a current rack, an NVIDIA rack on the ground with
Yeah.
72 chips weighs about 1.4 tons.
Okay.
So in terms of like all the components of wiring and other stuff, and then adjusting that to be space ready,
Mhm.
um, I haven't done the detailed design work, so I couldn't be able to say, right? I thought it wasn't a problem, and now to hear that in some ways there's huge advantages, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So now they just have to go do it.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to get your numbers soon.
Right,
No, no, no.
right.
When you're ready, when you're ready. All right. So let's see. Let's look at the numbers then. You got anything else?
No,
Okay, let's look at the numbers. We've got Tesla now at 407. I'm sorry, 410. I guess I had to refresh. Now at 410.76. Got a long way to go, Brian. Uh,
mhm.
let's see. We have got, where am I here? I'm looking for, here we go. We have got the bonds, of course, which we always talk about next, is the bonds are up 1.3, 4.144, still staying under my ceiling of 4.15. Come on now, can't go over one, but it needs to start going down, Brian.
Mhm.
Any thoughts on the bonds?
Nope.
Okay. Oil still sitting right at $60. Natural gas, though, up another 0.15, sitting, I think this may be the highest I've seen it, $4.56. So this is, I think the president needs to at least talk about it. Needs to jawbone it, in particular, because if I was the left, I would say, hey, you sold all of our gas to Europe and all these other countries, and now we're having to pay more at home. That's what I would do if I was the opposition. So I think he needs to address it and maybe really come down hard on the natural gas guys to increase supply, increase production if there's anything left to do. But anyway,
I think it's a hard problem because the AI data centers need the natural gas. So, we're gonna bring on that supply as fast as we can, and then we're gonna use it for AI data centers. So that's gonna be attention on there.
maybe we could buy some
And
from Russia.
yes, Russia and Iran have more natural gas. So then you have to solve the Ukraine war and solve
Right.
Iran in order to get their natural gas. Yes.
Gold, gold up another 14, 4,096. Silver up zero point 0.9 today, 51.31. It's outracing gold for sure now. And copper up 0.54. It's right in the middle of where it's been over the last few days. Any thoughts on the metals?
Nope.
Of course, the currencies are mixed. I think 9 times out of 10, you got the yen going one way and the euro going another way. Lately, it's been the yen going down and the euro going up. Bitcoin, here you go. Oops. It's actually down for the day, but it's up from where it was. It was down around 89,000 there for part of the day today. Back up to 91,426. Ethereum down 3.66. It had dropped below 3,000, but it is back up just barely above 3,000. Any thoughts on the cryptocurrencies?
I think if we have the Christmas rally stuff, then I think the crypto
Crypto will come
will
back.
move up with it. Yeah, so we need to get back to risk on.
Okay, all right. Of course, the VIX, the VIX was down today, but it was still up above 20. We've got the Dow equities, Dow for tomorrow up 0.38 so far, S&P up 0.98. And there we go again. My goodness, I'm popular. Up 0.98 on the S&P and up 1.48 on the Nasdaq. All of that probably related to Nvidia. So probably going to be a really good day in the market tomorrow. Well,
I think so.
although we do get the September job numbers, so that happens before the market opens tomorrow. Will be interesting to see if there's any impact for that. But they also announced, I don't know if you saw that, Brian, that October job numbers will never be coming out.
Hmm.
And the November has been moved up a week, so they don't come out. The combination, or what you would call it, the November numbers, will not come out until after the Fed meeting.
Hmm.
So the Fed will be flying blind, as they've said. So that may be why the drop today in the percentage of those thinking there's going to be a cut.
Yep, not good on that, but what can you do?
What can you do? That's what it is. It is what it is. All right, Brian. Any particular reason why you think anybody should buy our book?
And yeah, because there's all the things about the Mars AI data center stuff. There's a lot of deep analysis of what you should do for AI, if AI is affecting work and stuff, help you make your plans.
All kinds of stuff about the energy stuff we've just been talking about and how we're going to get to energy. Yeah, I think they should buy it. They should buy the book. Brian,
Yes.
thank you as
Thank you.
always for coming on. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.